Smoke floated through the evening sky like broken shadows. Fires burned across the once green valley, now littered with broken machines, smashed trees, and the bodies of soldiers, both alien and human. No one knew how it had started. One moment, the border treaty held. The next, someone fired a shot, and chaos swallowed everything. Jace Holloway, a young human medic, had no orders anymore. His squad was scattered, maybe dead. His comm device gave only static. He wandered through the silent forest, pulse rifle on his back, medical pack strapped tight, his heart pounding louder than his boots. The war had spilled into this forest just hours ago, but now it was deathly quiet. Birds had stopped singing. Not even insects moved. Then he heard it, a low, pained sound, a groan, maybe a growl. Not human. Jace stopped, eyes narrowing. He crouched low and moved toward the sound carefully. A dozen scenarios ran through his head: enemy scout, wounded predator, trap. But when he reached the clearing, he saw none of those. It was a beast. Huge, about 10 feet long, with glistening black fur matted with blood. Its body was sleek but muscular, like a mix of feline and wolf. Long ears twitched, and golden eyes watched him weakly. One leg was clearly broken, and an energy blade had cut deep into its side. Jace froze. This thing could tear him in half, but it didn't move, it just whimpered. He looked around. No one. No drones, no scouts. Just the dying creature and the smoke-filled wind. Jace slowly approached. Easy, easy, buddy. I'm not here to hurt you. The beast growled low in its throat, but didn't attack. Jace could see its body shaking. Blood loss, shock, maybe infection. Something in him clicked. It didn't matter that it was alien. It was in pain. And he was still a medic. He knelt beside it and opened his pack. All right, I'm gonna stop the bleeding first. If you bite me, I swear I'll leave you here. The beast didn't move. Jace worked quickly, sealing the wound with biofoam, stabilizing the broken leg with a quick splint. The creature twitched a few times, but never struck. It was intelligent. He could feel it. Not just a wild animal. After 20 minutes, the bleeding slowed. The beast blinked slowly, its breathing less ragged. Jace leaned back, wiping sweat from his face. You're going to live, he whispered. If you don't, eat me first. Then he heard something else. A voice, far away, cold, angry, sharp. Where is she? Jace grabbed his rifle and turned. Someone was coming. Multiple someones. And they weren't human. He grabbed the beast's front legs and tried to drag it behind the bushes. It whimpered in pain, but he kept going. More voices now. Foreign language, fast. Commanding. He ducked low, hiding both himself and the beast beneath thick leaves. Through the trees, he saw them, 4 armored figures, tall and alien, their armor marked in deep red and silver. One of them raised a scanner and waved it across the area. Trace signal here, the lead one said. She's bleeding. Jace's heart dropped. She? These weren't just soldiers. They were searching for someone. The scanner pointed in his direction. They started walking toward him. He raised his rifle slowly. He didn't want to fight, but if they found the beast, if they hurt her, he couldn't let that happen. The beast shifted beside him. Weakly she opened her eyes and growled softly. Jace whispered. You want to live? Then stay quiet. The patrol reached the edge of the bushes. One of them raised a weapon. But before he could step forward, a voice came from their comms. Baroness incoming. The soldiers froze. One of them tapped the device. She's arriving personally? Yes, she says. Prepare her pet. Jace blinked. Pet? The soldiers backed off, moving to a clearing near the wreckage. Moments later, a sleek black ship descended from the clouds. Elegant, smooth, glowing red on the sides. A ramp lowered, and out walked the most terrifyingly beautiful alien woman he had ever seen. She wore black and gold armor, long cloak trailing behind her. Her silver-white hair flowed behind like silk. Her eyes burned with fury. Jace didn't understand everything she said, but he heard one word clearly as she marched forward, voice like a blade. Velkara. The beast beside him twitched at the name. Her eyes locked with Jace's, full of fear, and then something else. She nudged his leg. Weakly. She didn't want to go back. And now Jace understood. He hadn't just rescued a beast that he had stolen from the Baroness herself. Jace sat still, his back pressed against the rough bark of a tree, trying to make his breathing as silent as possible. The beast Velkara lay beside him, her wounded side rising and falling slowly. The name echoed in his mind. Whoever the Baroness was, she wasn't just some noble alien, she was powerful. And she had come down herself. That meant Velkara wasn't just any pet, she was important. Jace stared through the leaves at the soldiers. The Baroness stood tall in front of them, her eyes sweeping across the destruction, like she owned the world. Her voice was sharp and cold. You failed to guard her, again. The guards bowed quickly. Apologies, Baroness. She escaped during the chaos. The Baroness's eyes narrowed. If she dies, you die with her. One of the soldiers stepped forward. We found a blood trail, heading east into the lower forest. She may be hiding there. The Baroness raised one hand. Then find her, bring her back, alive. The soldiers moved swiftly, spreading into search patterns, scanning the ground and surrounding trees. Jace knew they were minutes from finding his hiding place. He looked down at Velkara. Her golden eyes stared up at him, silently pleading. You trust me? He whispered. She gave the smallest nod. Jace sighed and tightened his grip on the rifle. All right, girl, let's disappear. He carefully adjusted the emergency stretcher from his pack and rolled her onto it. She whimpered but didn't resist. He activated the silent hover function, low altitude and low energy, and began guiding her deeper into the woods. The terrain became harder. Roots tangled the path, and dense vines blocked his way. But it also helped him disappear, every time. A patrol came close. He ducked under mossy rocks, slipped through thorny shrubs, and waited with his pulse pounding until the footsteps passed. 2 hours passed this way. Finally, Jace reached an old service tunnel half buried under vines and stone. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. Probably a forgotten route from before the war. He kicked open the rusted hatch and carefully pulled Velkara inside. The space was dark, narrow, and cold, but it was shelter. He set her down gently on a makeshift cot made from his survival tarp and jacket. Then he checked her wounds again. The bleeding had stopped, but the deep cut on her side still looked angry. He injected a mild dose of painkillers and fed her a nutrient gel. As she drank, he finally asked, "What are you?" Velkara didn't speak, but her gaze never left his. Jace leaned back against the wall. You're smart. You understand everything. I say that means you're more than a beast. And the way she looked for you, you must be part of her family, or maybe a weapon. Velkara growled softly at the word weapon. Not a weapon then, he said. But she called you her pet. That doesn't feel right either. You don't belong in a cage. She lowered her head. Shame. Hurt. He could see it in her eyes. Jace sighed. Look, I don't know why she owns you, or what they've done to you, but you're not going back. Not if I can help it. Velkara slowly reached out her claw and touched his hand. It wasn't aggressive. It was gratitude. Suddenly, the cum device on Jace's wrist crackled. A signal, faint, but human. He scrambled to tune it. Hello, this is Medic Jace Holloway. Can anyone hear me? A male voice came through. Jace, damn, you're alive? It's Sergeant Reed. We thought you were KIA. I'm alive, injured, but stable. I'm not alone. I have someone with me. Reed's voice grew serious. Are you safe? Not exactly. I rescued a creature. It's not just any creature. I think she belongs to the enemy's noble class. Baroness herself is on the ground looking for her. A pause, then, bring her in. Command will want to see her. Jace hesitated. She's not a prisoner. She didn't hurt me. I saved her. She's not going to survive interrogation. Jace, you don't get to decide that. The cum went dead. Velkara had heard it too. Her ears were flat, her body trembling. Again, not from pain, from fear. Jace clenched his jaw. I won't let them take you either. He stood up and looked down the dark tunnel. He had two enemies now, one that wanted to recapture her, and another that might use her. Only one choice. Made sense now. He would protect her, even if it meant going against his own people. Jace barely slept. He kept watch through the night, his rifle in hand, listening for footsteps or drones. Velkara slept fitfully, growling softly in her dreams, sometimes twitching like she was running. He didn't wake her. Whatever she had been through, it wasn't just about physical wounds. By morning, the forest above was quiet, too quiet. The Baroness's soldiers were still out there. He didn't doubt that. They were patient, methodical, and they had better equipment. Eventually, they'd scan this tunnel. Jace crouched by a rusted terminal near the hatch. Most of the old system was dead, but one green light blinked. The backup power source still worked. He pulled out a cable from his pack and connected his portable scanner. A map loaded slowly, showing a faded tunnel network beneath the region. One route went deep into the southern ridges, away from the war zones, away from patrols, and maybe toward safety. He looked over at Velkara, who was awake, now watching him silently. We move today, he said. That tunnel leads away from everything. If we stay here, they'll find us. She didn't argue. Instead, she slowly rose to her feet. Her legs still shook, but she stood. That strength impressed him. You sure? He asked. Velkara huffed. Softly, like a nod. He packed fast rations, emergency kit, ammo. Then he rigged a sensor jammer near the tunnel entrance to throw off scanners. It would only buy them a few hours. The two of them walked deeper into the tunnel. The path was long and dark. Old lights flickered, casting strange shadows. Water dripped from the ceiling. Rust covered the walls like decay. In places they had to crawl through collapsed sections or climb over piles of ancient debris. Hours passed. Jace talked to keep himself focused. About Earth. About how he joined the service to save lives, not end them. About how he hated watching politicians ruin everything with their egos and pride. He wasn't sure Velkara understood all of it, but she listened. And sometimes, when he made a joke, she made a soft chuffing sound, like laughter. They came across a collapsed chamber that had once been a supply station. Shelves were smashed and metal crates torn open, but a few things remained. Jace scavenged. Old medral packs, a portable power cell, and to his shock, a hand-sized stealth drone still working. This'll help, he muttered, turning it on and linking it to his scanner. The drone zipped silently ahead, feeding him a clean view of the tunnel up to 300 meters. But something strange came through the feed. Heat signatures. 2 of them. Not human. Moving fast. And getting closer. He froze. They're tracking us. Velkara growled low and stood between him and the threat. Jace looked around. No cover. They couldn't fight. Come on, he whispered. He led her into a side shaft. It was narrower and tighter, but it bent around in a U-shape and connected back to the main tunnel further down. The 2 figures came into view on the drone cam. Armored scouts, same red and silver markings. One of them carried a sensor staff, the other had a long rifle. They scanned the main tunnel, looked at the blood traces on the floor, then moved forward away from Jace's hidden path. He exhaled. That was close. They moved again, silent and quick. At last, after several more kilometers, they reached the mouth of the tunnel. A steel door stood in the way, but it wasn't locked. Jace pried it open with effort, the sound of creaking metal making both him and Velkara wince. Outside sunlight broke through the clouds. They were on the southern edge of the valley, overlooking the riverlands. Tall trees swayed gently, and birds chirped. For the first time in days, it looked peaceful. But peace was short. A low whine filled the air above them. Slicing through the sky like a blade, flew the Baroness's ship. Jace ducked under the trees, dragging Velkara with him. The ship didn't slow, it was heading north, back toward the warfront. Maybe the Baroness thought Velkara had died. Or maybe they were being watched anyway. Jace found a hidden ridge, where trees grew thick and low, shielding them from aerial scans. They set up camp under the roots of an old tree, where moss covered the entrance like a curtain. He fed Velkara again, patched her leg, and looked into her eyes. "You saved me back there, when you stood between me and those soldiers." Velkara didn't respond, but her gaze was warm. Not like a beast, like a person. Jace leaned back, watching the sky. They couldn't go back now, not to the humans. Not to the aliens. He had chosen her, and that meant he had made himself the enemy of two sides. Asterisk. The days passed slowly in the ridge shelter. Rain fell softly in the afternoons, hiding them under thick fog. Birds sang again, and wild animals crept through the trees, but none came close to Jace and Velkara. Maybe they sensed something. Velkara was healing faster than Jace expected. Her deep wound had sealed cleanly with each application of biofoam, and her broken leg was slowly regaining strength. She limped at first, but now she could stand fully and even walk short distances. But Jace noticed more than her recovery. She watched everything: his movements, his tools, the way he cooked food or handled the scanner. And one morning, she surprised him by tapping a sequence into his datapad. Not random taps, she copied what he did. He stared at her. "You've been watching." Velkara blinked and made a low humming sound, almost like agreement. He pulled the datapad closer and showed her a word. "Velkara, is that your name?" She paused, then pressed a claw gently against the word. Jace hesitated, then typed another. "Baroness." Velkara stiffened. Her eyes narrowed, her head lowered. "She hurt you, didn't she?" he said softly. Velkara didn't growl. She didn't snarl. She just looked away. That told him everything. Later that day, while Velkara rested, Jace climbed to a high ridge and set the stealth drone to scout nearby transmissions. He caught some alien chatter encrypted, but one channel was open by mistake. It was the Baroness herself, speaking to someone in her own command. "Recover or destroy." The subject: "The bloodline cannot be allowed to roam free." That chilled Jace to the bone. Bloodline? Back at the camp, he pulled out a portable DNA scanner. He had one sample of Velkara's blood on the splint wrap. He placed it under the lens and waited. The result stunned him. Velkara's DNA wasn't just intelligent, it was designed. Genetically crafted with enhancements, command proteins, and embedded memory coding. She wasn't a beast at all. She was royalty, not just a pet. She was the Baroness's daughter. Jace looked over at her, sleeping under the tree, her chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. She had trusted him with her life. She could have attacked him, run from him, but she stayed. He sat beside her. "Why didn't you say anything? You're not some animal. You're a person. Maybe more than I am." Velkara opened one eye and tilted her head slightly. He showed her the DNA result. "You're her daughter, aren't you?" Her gaze hardened, but she didn't deny it. Slowly she nodded once. "But you ran away from her," he said. "You don't want that life." Velkara looked down. She used her claw to draw on the dirt. A symbol, 2 circles joined by a line. "What is that?" Jace asked. She tapped the smaller circle, then the line, then dragged her claw across the bigger circle with force. Separation. She was cutting herself from the Baroness. Jace understood. She made you into something you didn't choose to be. Valkyra let out a soft, sorrowful sound. He reached forward slowly and placed his hand over her paw. You're free now. I'll help you stay that way. No one gets to decide your fate, not her, not my commanders, not even me. That night, while the stars shined through the leaves, Jace worked on something new. He rewired the stealth drone to emit a false trail, one that led west, toward the mountains. He programmed a voice sample to play after 6 hours, in case anyone followed. He was giving them a ghost. By morning, they were moving again, heading east this time, toward the ruins of an old outpost he remembered from a mission months ago. It was underground, forgotten after being abandoned during the early war. If it still stood, they could hide there longer. Maybe long enough to contact someone who wouldn't try to use Valkyra as a weapon or as bait. As they walked through the quiet woods, Valkyra moved beside him like a shadow. Her movements were smooth, almost elegant now. She was recovering fast. Too fast. It worried him. Valkyra, he said. What else did she give you? What else did the Baroness put in your body? Valkyra looked at him, and for the first time, there was fear in her eyes. He didn't press further. But he knew one thing. Valkyra was no ordinary runaway, and whatever lived inside her wasn't finished evolving. They reached the ruins by midday. Half buried under vines and thick moss, the structure looked like a natural part of the hill. A cracked metal door barely hung onto its frame. Jace pushed it open with effort, rust grinding against stone. The air inside smelled of dust, age, and forgotten war. This used to be a comms relay, he said, stepping in carefully. Human-built long ago, but no one comes here now. Valkyra sniffed the air behind him, cautious but calm. Her movement was more graceful now, no limp, no weakness. Only quiet strength. Inside he found a still-working power unit and a half-destroyed console. He booted up the system and rerouted energy to the hidden lower bunker. The old elevator groaned to life. Jace glanced at Valkyra, who simply nodded. They went down together. The bunker smelled less like war, more like silence. Its walls were still intact. Broken screens, dusty lockers, a cracked mirror, everything looked untouched for years. Jace checked the sensors, no signals. No drones, no ships. They were finally invisible. He sat down near the center terminal and rubbed his eyes. We'll rest here, but not for long. They're still out there. Valkyra moved to one of the corners and laid down, watching him closely. She hadn't said a word, but her eyes spoke enough. She didn't sleep anymore like before. She was alert. She was aware. Jace pulled out the DNA data again. There was something he had ignored before. A set of sealed sequences, encrypted markers in her genetic code. The scanners, I couldn't open them, but one word kept flashing again and again in red. Biolock. Activation pending. He stared at it. What are you hiding in there, Valkyra? As if she knew, she looked away. The next morning, the first sign of trouble came. A long-range ping. Just one. Faint. Barely detectable. But it wasn't human. It was alien. Baroness class encryption. They had found something nearby. Not their exact location, but close enough to send scouts. Jace turned off all outgoing signals and set up the drone again. He scanned the skies. 3 small flyers, fast-moving scouts, were flying over the river, less than 5 kilometers away. He packed quickly, but when he turned, Valkyra didn't move. Come on, he said. We can't stay. She stood still. Her ears twitched. Her chest was rising and falling too fast. Valkyra. Suddenly, she collapsed. Jace rushed to her side. Her body shook violently, limbs locking and unlocking like she was fighting something inside. Her claws scratched the ground. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then her eyes snapped open. They glowed gold, brighter than ever before. And then they changed. Blue lights circled the irises. Her muscles shifted, growing leaner, sharper. Her wounds disappeared before his eyes. And from beneath her skin, a strange light pulsed across her veins. He stepped back, stunned. "What's happening to you?" She growled, and this time, it wasn't out of pain, it was awakening. She rose to her full height, twice the size she had been when he found her. The elegant predator was gone. Now she looked like something built for war, and yet, she didn't attack. She looked at him, confused, as if she herself didn't know what she was. He raised his hands slowly. "Valkara, can you understand me?" Her breathing slowed. The glow faded just a little. She stepped forward and leaned, her head against his chest. Whatever had been locked inside her had just activated. And she had fought it. Jace sat down slowly, holding her face in his hands. "They turned you into a weapon, didn't they?" She didn't deny it. He looked at her, heart heavy. "If they find you now, they'll use you to destroy entire cities. And if the humans get to you first, they'll do the same." She pulled back and looked him in the eyes. For the first time she made it clear. Soft sound. It was a word not in human language, but clear enough. "Free." Jace smiled, even as his stomach twisted in fear. "Yeah, you're free. And we're gonna keep it that way." But deep inside, he knew the Baroness would never stop. Valkara was more than royalty now. She was a living weapon, and the moment she lost control, both sides would burn. Jace didn't sleep that night. He sat beside the bunker entrance, rifle in hand, watching the skies through the broken hatch. Valkara lay behind him, breathing softly, her body calm but different now. Since the transformation, she hadn't changed back. Her golden blue eyes remained lit with quiet power, and her movements had become more precise, like a blade, honed to perfection. But she was still her. She still looked at him the same way, still followed his voice, still trusted him. But time was running out. The next morning, a sharp alert blinked across the drone's feed. A signal, strong, focused, triangulating. Jace cursed under his breath. "They're here." The Baroness hadn't given up. In fact, she had narrowed in. 5 drop ships. And leading them was her personal vessel, black, sleek, silent. Valkara stood slowly, already sensing it. Her ears twitched, and her gaze sharpened. She looked to Jace for confirmation. "They're landing half a click west," he said. "We have minutes." He packed the last of their supplies, but he knew there was nowhere to run now. The trees wouldn't hide them forever. The mountains were too far, and Valkara's body, that energy pulsing in her veins, it was calling out like a beacon. "They'll never stop chasing you," he whispered. "Unless..." He paused. Unless she wasn't hunted anymore, unless she faced them. Valkara stepped beside him and placed her paw, now more hand-like, on his shoulder. She was choosing to stay. She was choosing to fight. Jace took a deep breath. "Then we make a stand." They set up quickly. Old traps from the human bunker, motion mines, signal flares, and flash bursts were still functional. Jace rigged them along the path leading to the bunker, while Valkara watched silently. The first enemy soldiers arrived within minutes. Armored, quiet, professional. They swept through the trees, but the flash bursts disoriented them, and the mines sent 3 of them flying. Jace opened fire from behind a fallen log, targeting legs and joints. He didn't want to kill, but he wanted them to back off. Then came the scream, metal tearing, weapons shattering. Valkara had joined the fight. She moved like a force of nature, silent and fast, her claws slicing through weapons like paper. She didn't kill. She disabled, disarmed, broke armor with sheer speed and strength. The soldiers tried to fall back, but the Baroness herself landed, stepping out with 2 elite guards. She was taller than Jace remembered, her silver hair glowing, her armor darker. Now she didn't draw a weapon. She didn't need one. "Valkara," she said calmly, "come home." Valkara stood still, The Baroness stepped forward. I raised you. I crafted you. You were made for one purpose. Return now, and I will forgive your rebellion. Velkara let out a low growl. The Baroness tilted her head. You're stronger than ever. Your bloodline has awakened, but you are still mine. Jace stepped forward beside Velkara. She doesn't belong to you. The Baroness's eyes locked onto him. And who are you? A human medic? A traitor who patched up my weapon and thought kindness could overwrite destiny? Jace raised his rifle. She's not a weapon. She's not your pet. She's Velkara, and she's free. The Baroness raised her hand. The two elite guards lunged. Velkara met them in a blur disarming one, slamming the other into a tree. But the Baroness moved too lightning fast. Drawing a hidden blade from her sleeve, she stabbed forward, straight toward Jace. Velkara saw it, and she blocked it. The blade hit her side, but it didn't pierce. Her skin shimmered, energy flaring. Her body pushed back the Baroness with a shockwave of force that lit the entire clearing. The Baroness fell, stunned but not hurt. She rose slowly, eyes wide. You've surpassed your limits, she whispered. I didn't think it was possible. Velkara stood tall, breathing slowly, blood glowing faintly in her veins. The Baroness stepped back, voice cold. Then you are no longer mine. She signaled retreat. The surviving soldiers vanished into the trees. The Baroness boarded her ship, never once looking back, and then she was gone. Silence fell over the ridge. Velkara dropped to her knees. Jace ran to her. You're okay. You're okay. She leaned into him, tired but smiling, really smiling. Held her close. It's over. They didn't need words. Not anymore. In that quiet forest, where war had once raged and destiny had been rewritten, a human and an alien weapon stood side by side, not as enemies, but as something far stronger. As something free.